In the vast expanse of the universe, there existed a planet in the fifth realm that was shrouded in mystery and allure. This distant planet was known for its breathtaking landscapes and its inhabitants, beautiful women with mesmerizing eyes and enchanting smiles. One day, a man DBG-7 received a call from this distant planet. The voice on the other end of the line was soft and melodic, beckoning him to come and explore the wonders of this mysterious world. Intrigued by the invitation, DBG-7 embarked on a journey through the cosmos, guided by the celestial map that had been sent to him. As he approached the planet, he was greeted by a dazzling display of colors and lights that danced across the sky. The air was filled with a sweet fragrance that tickled his senses, and he felt a sense of peace and tranquility wash over him. DBG-7 was immediately surrounded by a group of stunning women who welcomed him with open arms. Their beauty was beyond compare, and he found himself unable to resist their charms. Little did he know, he had fallen under a powerful spell that had been cast by the inhabitants of the planet. The women of the planet are in the billions, every woman is beautiful, like a fingerprint, each woman had their own beautiful look. It was like visual addiction. All of them were sexy, all of them were fine, they were pretty, beautiful, gorgeous, stunning and amazing. DBG-7 was under a visual spell. The women smelled so good, DBG-7 nose was in love. The women smelled like all kinds of fruit and sweets, sugary sensations. It was a high vibration of feminine energy. The smell of the women down below smells sweet, their vagina has the fresh water gesture. DBG-7 could smell the goods just by standing next to these women. As days turned into weeks, DBG-7 found himself unable to leave the planet. The women, sensing his predicament, revealed to him the only way to break the spell: he must perform cunnilingus on each and every one of them. At first, DBG-7 was hesitant and unsure, but as he looked into their eyes, he saw a glimmer of hope and trust. And so, he embarked on a journey of pleasure and liberation, exploring the depths of desire and passion with each woman he encountered. As he fulfilled his task of 5 billion women pleased and pleasured, he felt the spell slowly lifting, and a sense of freedom and joy filled his heart. In the end, DBG-7 emerged from the planet a changed man, his spirit renewed and his soul awakened. He had experienced a grand adventure unlike any other, and he knew that he would never forget the beautiful women of the fifth realm and the lessons they had taught him about love, desire, and the power of connection. Once again, DBG-7 found himself going to the distant planet in the fifth realm, a place filled with beautiful spell-casting women. The last time he was here, he had been put under a spell that could only be broken by performing cunnilingus on all the women on the planet. And now, he had returned to complete more rituals. As he gazed upon the stunning women before him, DBG-7 knew that he had a daunting task ahead of him. But he was determined to massage all women. With a sense of purpose, he began to perform the cunnilingus rituals on each woman, one by one. As he moved from woman to woman, DBG-7 felt a sense of power and liberation wash over him. The act of pleasuring these women was not only pleasing the women, but it was also bringing him closer to them in a way he had never experienced before. It was as if he was unlocking a hidden connection between himself and the women of this planet. With each woman he pleasured, DBG-7 felt a sense of fulfillment and joy that he had never known. The women, in turn, responded with gratitude and appreciation, their eyes shining with a newfound sense of freedom and happiness. As he completed the final cunnilingus ritual, DBG-7 felt a surge of energy course through him. But more than that, he had formed a bond with the women of this planet that would last a lifetime. And so, DBG-7 left the distant planet in the fifth realm, his heart full of gratitude and love for the women who had fell in love with DBG-7 lips and tongue. As he looked back one last time, he knew that he would always carry a piece of this magical place with him, a reminder of the power of connection and pleasure. And he vowed to return one day, to once again experience the beauty and wonder of this fairy tale world. But as time passed, the spell that had bound DBG-7 was lifted, and he was free to make his own choices. However, he found himself drawn back to the planet of beautiful women, unable to resist the allure of their beauty, smell and power. As DBG-7 returned to the planet, he began to perform the cunnilingus rituals once again. But this time, something was different. As he pleasured each woman, they began to fall in love with him. The women of the planet were captivated by DBG7's skill and passion, and they longed to be with him forever. The women, knowing DBG7 was blessed with a third leg, in a bid to keep DBG7 by their side, billions of women put love spells and come to me spells on him. DBG7 found himself overwhelmed by the attention and affection of the women, but he could not resist their charms. He continued to perform ritual after ritual, putting the women under a tongue spell that bound them to him in a web of desire and passion. And so, the cycle continued, with DBG7 and the women of the planet of beautiful women locked in a dance of love and lust. The women adored DBG7, and he found himself unable to resist their advances. The planet was filled with the sound of moans and sighs as DBG7 pleasured each woman in turn, his heart torn between his desire for freedom and his love for the women who had captured his soul. Moans and sighs we heard all the time. Legend has it, he now gives women 700 strokes of good rod, after he eats them for hours and hours. Rumors says he eats women a half a day at a time. And so, the story of DBG7 and the women of the planet of beautiful women continues to this day, a tale of love and desire that knows no bounds. In a world where passion reigns supreme, anything is possible, even a love that transcends time and space.